I got a message that the Chinese river dolphin, BIHAR, had been declared officially extinct. So it was so painful and shocking for me because this was the first time in human history when a cetacean species has become extinct. And I wish that with all our efforts, it will not happen to the Ganges river dolphin. I have planned to fight for this animal whole of my life. The Ganges dolphin is the indicator of health of river Ganga. It is a symbol of Ganga. It is the aquatic heritage of India and aquatic heritage of world. And it is simply a symbol of what is happening in the overall river system.
Ravindra Kumar Sinha is a member of the IUCN Cetacean Specialist Group. So he's one of the best experts and probably the expert in terms of the Gange dolphin.
People recognize me as a pioneer worker, and that is why many people now call me Dolphin Sinha.
Patna, capital of the state of Bihar in northeastern India. It lies on the majestic and mystical Ganges. With 2 million inhabitants, this ancient city has been standing for 2,500 years. Patna is the cradle of many religions, including Jainism and Buddhism. While for the Sikhs, it is the birthplace of their last guru on earth, Gobind Singh. Ancient stone monuments are reminders of the powerful Mauryan Empire from the 3rd century BC. Emperor Ashoka the Great, credited as perhaps the world's first ecologist, declared the Ganges river dolphin a protected species. His edict was inscribed on stone pillars in Greek, Aramaic, and Sanskrit. More than 2,000 years later, Ashoka's decree has become the lifelong struggle for one man. Dr. Ravindra Kumar Sinha is Professor of Zoology and the principal investigator of the Dolphin Conservation Project at Patna University. There he investigates water quality, biodiversity, and the Ganges river dolphin, or Susu. Professor Sinha has spent the past 25 years upholding a childhood promise to save the dolphins from human destruction. That promise has become not only a professional ambition, but a spiritual mission for the devout Hindu. A pioneer in Susu conservation efforts, he teaches his students to respect the dolphins and how to protect this dying species. They have come to know him as Mr. Dolphin Sinha. He is a relentless campaigner, fighting against not only pollution, but an entire culture of environmentally dangerous practices, such as gillnet fishing systems. Professor Sinha calls himself a child of the sacred mother, Ganges River. He is her dutiful son, protecting not only the dolphins, but the holy river itself.
It's a symbol of life, it's a symbol of purity of the Ganga, it's a symbol of health of river Ganga. So that's why I used to narrate to the people that Susu, that's this dolphin, is an indicator of health of river Ganga. This dolphin, the Ganges river dolphin, Platanista gangetica, is almost a living fossil because it is surviving in this river since last 55-60 million years, and it is found in very few rivers of the world. You will not find river dolphins in North America or Europe or Africa or Australia. It is found only in Ganges system. It survived since millions of years, since old times, but now, in recent past, it has started facing threats. Because inside water, we cannot see anything because water is very turbid. And in turbid water, we cannot see, we cannot photograph. In marine condition, you have more transparent water, less turbid. So it is very, very mysterious thing that what they are doing inside water. We don't know how they are moving, what they are doing, how they are changing, fighting, socializing, or catching prey. Till date, we know that it has not survived in captivity for a longer time where we can plan for captive breeding or something like that. And this dolphin is known as blind dolphin because you can see here is the pinhole eye. Though it has big eyeball and retina, but there is no lens in this eye, so it cannot form image. And when it cannot form image, it is called blind dolphin. Since it is a blind animal, it has got a very powerful echolocation.
Through echolocation, the dolphin emits clicking sounds, which echo off the object or prey and return back to the dolphin. Through a series of these echoes, the blind Ganges River dolphins are able to judge their distance from other objects in the water and so create a mental image of their surroundings.
So what it do, it emits sound, and then sound after reflecting, after hitting with some object, it returns back, and then it travels through the lower jaw again to its ear. They are having power of echolocation just like bat. So they have got sonar system. So the only option before us is to save this animal in situ condition, means in its natural habitat.
So what is worrying with this species in particular, in the case of the Gange dolphin, if we lose it, we lose more than one species because it's an entire evolution, it's an entire genus which we are going to lose. You have no related species. They are really unique, so you will lose much more than a single species.
60 million years ago, the movement of the Earth's tectonic plates created the highest mountain range on the planet, the Himalayas. The mountain's glaciers serve as the source of most of the rivers in northern India, including the Ganges. But the creation of the Himalayas also meant the destruction of the Ganges dolphin's original home. Like many marine animals, they were cut off from their saltwater habitats by this new natural barrier. Forced to live in the rivers, they adapted and evolved into a freshwater species. Today, the Ganges extends over 2,500 kilometers. But even so, the Susu faces extinction.
So the river Ganga has been cradle of civilization, Indian civilization. At the same time, it is supposed to be the river of heaven, and it is the holiest of holy river on this earth. Every Hindu believes it as a mother Ganges, and I, as a Hindu, I wish that I should have a drop of Ganga water before I die. Gange, Hara Hara Gange, Ganga, Matu Gange, Matu Gange, Gange, Krishna,
The river is a symbol of purity and mother of all Hindus. They come here to wash themselves clean of their sins, to drink of the holy water, to worship and pray along the riverbanks, and to collect urns full of Mother Ganga, which they can carry home. Every year, millions of followers come to Mother Ganga. They gather here in the holy city of Benares to celebrate the 5 elements of nature fundamental to their religion: earth, air, fire, space, and water. It is a religion which, in principle, is founded on ecological practices. For Hindus, the Ganges dolphin is a sacred animal which must be protected. Benares is the ultimate place for all Hindus to come to die and to be cremated. The candle flames guide the souls of the dead to heaven. The biggest threat to the river's ecosystem is not primarily industrial pollution, but human. An extensive sewage system was constructed in the 1980s, but lack of fuel and proper maintenance have ultimately caused the multi-million-dollar project to fail. Despite many warnings, 1.7 billion litres of sewage, including the highly toxic waste from Patna hospital, continue to pour into the Ganges every day. Lacking electricity, the crematoriums have also failed. So many Hindu cremations are carried out on the riverbanks over open fires. Without enough wood to complete the cremation, the poor dump their half-burned dead into the river, in numbers estimated at 500 corpses every day. Carrion turtles were introduced into the ecosystem to clean the river, but the turtles have since been killed by the local population for their meat.
I am a firm believer that it is the only species on this earth, that is the human being, Homo sapiens. They are responsible for every kind of bad effects on nature. And they are the biggest polluter because they are discharging their kitchen waste, toilet waste, all sewage, city sewage, industrial effluent, their solid waste, everything to the river, to the nature, and they are polluting everywhere. On one hand, they worship the river in India. On the other hand, they pollute the river. So this is a completely paradox. This is most unfortunate, especially in case of India, where Ganga is treated as mother, the holiest of holy river. It is a sacred river. And since time immemorial, it was not being polluted by the people. We have historical evidence, even evidence of last 100 years, 200 years, river was completely pollution free. So whenever I was finding time, I was going to bank of Ganga, watching the dolphins, and hundreds of dolphins were there at Kashtaharni Ghat. I started thinking that I must do research on river Ganga. I could realize that the number of dolphins in Ganges was declining very fast.
Professor Sinha set out to investigate why dolphins were dying. Pollution was the prime suspect.
First thing came to my mind that as a scientist, I must give proof. That time, I organized surveys with the help of my students. I took them to the river on country boat and collected information, collected data. So this is the Sachi disk, and we measure transparency of water through it. Now you see the transparency of water is very less, hardly 1 feet. Means it's highly turbid, a lot of suspended solid. That is why dolphin cannot see through it.
Their temperature is.
So we are trying to find out the entire food chain of the river system where dolphins are living.
And we could realize that even in Ganga, there are a lot of pesticides, chemical fertilizers, and other pollution from sewage, from industries entering into the river, and it is affecting the river ecosystem, affecting the fish fauna, affecting the food of dolphins, and ultimately affecting the dolphin population itself.
Professor Sinha and his researchers decided to investigate the habits of the local populations to determine their effects on the dolphins. Their initial discoveries revealed practices with far more direct consequences than just pollution alone.
It's a dead dolphin, approximately 6 months old, and it was caught in a net near this village.
And I could discover a very age-old tradition of oil fishing, where the fishers were using dolphin oil as a fish bait, as a fish attractant. Then I could realize these fishers are killing dolphins to extract oil out of its body, and they are using that oil. So that was the first discovery that why the animal number is going down.
There is a legend that the dolphin was once the daughter of a king. Today, the legendary princess still has a rich, yet tragic value: her blubber.
At the same time, we found that they were hoarding, means collecting more and more oil to sell. So there was a trafficking of dolphin oil across the fishing community, and we noticed that this oil was being sold even at 200, 300 rupees per kilogram to the other fishers. And this was another big challenge, because they were not only using themselves, rather they were selling or trafficking this oil. But the most important aspect was how to stop the killing of the dolphins.
This is the dolphin oil.
It is a simple question of economics. Fishermen can purchase a kilogram of dolphin blubber and multiply that investment tenfold with the fish they catch with its oil. To the local populations, dolphin blubber is nothing short of miraculous. With just a sprinkle of the oil mixture over the water, the fish practically leap onto the fishermen's hooks. Eliminating this miracle product is unthinkable for these fishermen. They are dependent upon it for their own livelihood. Without it, their fishing businesses would fail, and they and their families might not survive. For Professor Sinha, the challenge is clear. The only way to save the dolphin from blubber traffickers is to invent a new miracle.
I started looking for alternative of dolphin oil as a fish attractant.
These ingredients are the same. I mean, this is the gut of the goat and the fat body of the goat, but the oil is different. It is not a dolphin oil. This oil is fish scrap oil mixed with some vegetable oil, and then they are making it paste. So the only difference that instead of dolphin oil, they are using fish scrap oil. And now this oil is being used to attract the fish. You can see the result now. It gives the same result or many times better result than dolphin oil.
I got opportunity to interact with Sister Doris D'Souza, who was professor of zoology in Patna Women's College, and she had a very good NGO, Eco Task Force, in her college.
Sister Doris D'Souza has been promoting environmental awareness for 20 years, teaching her students to be active in the fight to preserve nature. Her Dolphin Protection Task Force, assembled with Sinha's campaign, is led by a student choir. Performing in local fishing villages, the choir presents the dolphin as a sacred animal which must be defended. D'Souza hopes to change the villagers' attitudes by creating new customs within the established traditions, and her work has met with great success. She targets those most affected by the message: the women and the future of India, the children. To target the men, Professor Sinha took his message directly to the trading site, the local fish markets. His first visits revealed general apathy towards protecting the dolphins.
From 1990 to 1995, I saw the fish market not only gorgeous, but full of activities, varieties of fishes, and also dolphins. And we have many, many photographs and images that they are being weighed on a big balance, and people are cutting, selling. It was all going on, and we used to watch very frequently, very regularly. We were going to fish market where these dolphins were being sold. Also, on the roadside, we used to see they are being carried on some rickshaw or some kind of vehicle to the fish market where they were being sold.
The dolphins, like the carrion turtles, were ending up in the villagers' cooking pots. So Professor Sinha and his team embarked on the mission of reminding the fishermen of the law, warning them that the sale of dolphin meat was illegal and that they could be heavily fined or even sent to jail. But Professor Sinha's warnings lost impact, faced with an apathetic government and forgotten laws. Repeated letters, calls and proposals to federal officials remained unanswered. Frustrated and angry, Professor Sinha contacted the media. The papers published articles accusing the lawmakers of ignoring this crucial problem. Government reaction was immediate. The High Court called an urgent hearing of the case with all the district magistrates along the banks of the Ganges. Government officials contacted Professor Sinha to ask how they could help. His answer was simple: empower the law. Dolphin trading is a crime punishable by imprisonment. Yet, until Professor Sinha's campaign, almost none of the thousands of poachers had ever been jailed. Following the hearing, the High Court ordered the federal government to prepare a plan and funding to save the dolphins.
By 1995, with all our awareness campaign, our actions, with the help of media and the help of people, I think that we could not see any dolphins being sold by 1995. It had stopped those days. I could realize that there was no any protected area for the dolphins, like for tigers we had in forest, and for other animals in other area. For birds, we had bird sanctuary. So then something came to in my mind, one idea that we must have some protected area in the name of dolphin. So we proposed a dolphin sanctuary in Ganga.
In 1990, Bihar declared a 50-kilometer Ganges preservation zone, creating the Vikramshila Sanctuary.
For that, we had to fight not only with the one individual, with the wildlife officials, with the administrative officials, with the politicians, and we had to hammer. Now we realize that the stretch of 50-kilometer stretch of the river is too small for a migratory animal like Ganga dolphin, because we need much more area under protection as a sanctuary for the migratory species, maybe 100-150 kilometer minimum, because animals are moving out of the sanctuary where they become vulnerable, they can be killed.
The media had been very helpful in keeping Professor Sinha's campaign alive in the minds of the people. But he knew the dolphins had to stay in the headlines.
So we had some ideas. And there is a very good occasion at Patna when millions of people throng to the bank of Ganges in the month of October, November to celebrate Chhath festival, that is the worship of Mother Ganges and God's son.
For this sun-worshipping celebration, Professor Sinha organised a campaign with a vast team of student volunteers and an armada of boats. Professor Sinha saw the event as a golden opportunity to reach his target audience. The campaign message was direct. The sacred dolphin is a symbol of purity for the Ganges. Those who worship Mother Ganga and the sun which brings her light must also pay homage to this holy water mammal. According to legend, it is a duty to preserve this life-giving creature, which flows with milk. Like sacred cattle, it must not be killed or eaten. It is a messenger sent by Lord Shiva to announce the gift of the Mother Ganga to the people. Professor Sinha's campaign reached further than the masses of worshippers present for the festival. It resulted in worldwide media coverage, bringing the message directly into the homes of the rest of India and the rest of the planet. The dolphins would decorate Mr. Dolphin Sinha with medals if they could, but the professor never anticipated the level of recognition he would receive on land. With many titles from prestigious academies, he is most proud of his Golden Ark Award. It is given to individuals who have made great international efforts in species protection.
I had to climb up so big ladders to right from my small village, from a farmer's family to S.O.S Palace in Netherlands, just in front of the His Royal Highness Prince Bernhard, who was decorating me with this golden medallion. I think the Mother Ganges blessings. So we want to see what is the status of dolphins in different seasons. That's why we conduct 3 times a year survey in more than 500 kilometer stretch of River Ganga in Bihar, and both upstream and downstream means both up and down survey. This means we cover more than 1,000 kilometer every time in every survey. Once during post-monsoon season, normally in October, November, another in winter season, usually in February, March, and then in summer season, May and June. It takes 15 days in continuous survey. This way, we need to spend minimum 45 days in a year on river itself. We send our team to conduct survey, to record the dolphin sightings, to know the population status, population dynamics, because we are recording the relative population of male, female, adult, subadult, calf, neonate. So if females are more, this means it is good for the dolphin population. Still, the population is almost static, means we have got total population around 500 to 600 in a stretch of 500 kilometers in this state of Bihar in the main channel of Ganga. In the new millennium, of this 21st century, I could realize that the problem is multifaceted, and I realized that I must get help and cooperation of the fishery scientists, engineers, hydrogeologists, geologists, chemists, politicians, then some spiritual leader also. With this plan in my mind, I started corresponding with the people all over the world and in India also. And later on, in November 2006, we organized that mega event where a spiritual leader like Kishore Kunal also participated, an international scientist, whale and dolphin scientists from Japan, from Germany, from Canada, from Australia. When the Ganga conference started, I could realize that I am not alone now. I have support of so many people from so many organizations from foreign countries as well as India. So then I had little confidence that, okay, now my fight would get strength.
His alarm call was heard across the world. The symposium was a remarkable success. The culmination of 20 years' work, it attracted scientists from across the globe and drew the attention of the world press. A senior Hindu priest launched the event.
And now the formal inauguration of this historic event, the International Conference on the Majestic River Ganga.
Yeah, I think next few minutes Chief Minister will be arriving. जुलाई में ही मैंने
इस तरह भागे ना इस तरह भागे ना इस तरह
It's a blind, they are called blind dolphin because there is no crystalline lens in its eye. So they cannot form image, but they have very powerful echolocation. 3 times a year, we are conducting continuous survey to monitor the dolphin population in Bihar. So probably the stretch of river under sanctuary area is not enough, not sufficient. It should be much more because it's a migratory species. Thank you very much.
जो डॉल्फिन अनेक प्रकार की समस्याओं को झेल रहा है उसके बारे में प्रोफेसर आर.के. सिन्हा ने बहुत अच्छा अपना पेपर रखा और प्रेजेंटेशन जो हम लोगों के सामने किया। जिस प्रकार से डॉल्फिन का नाश हो रहा है उसको रोका जाए और दूसरा सरकार में होने के कारण यह हम लोगों का कर्तव्य बनता है और कर्तव्य ही नहीं यह दायित्व बनता है, ये हम लोगों की ड्यूटी है। तो जो भी हम लोगों से संभव होगा, हमारी सरकार से संभव होगा, हम उसके लिए
and we'll have to initiate number of steps and measures to protect dolphin. And I have the view that Ganga dolphins would be declared as national aquatic animal.
I gave a presentation on river conservation and rehabilitation in the light of the FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries. FAO is the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. In the context of heavy dam construction in many countries that are launching for energy, it became very clear if you want to have sustainable and prosper fishery, you need to take environmental aspects into consideration. This is what we are trying to explain to politicians.
And on my own behalf, as a participant, I would like to express our grateful thanks to Dr. Dolphin Sinha.
Last evening, there was all electronic media, television, different channels they were projecting and they were telecasting. Yeah, I'm very happy, really indeed very happy, very successful.
Professor Sinha's work has received support from senior officials engaged in the fight against species extinction.
I think Professor Sinha solved a few problems, like the domestic market, but I'm not sure that's the main threat to the dolphin. I mean, the main one is a wide habitat destruction. And the way things are going on in India, in China, in Africa, everywhere, is that basically the threats are just increasing every day. If the cetacean goes extinct, maybe not that much. You can probably afford a few extinctions. The problem is at one point, the entire system will collapse because one, you can document, many others are just go totally unnoticed. So it's quite serious, especially for freshwater ecosystem, considering that water is becoming a very scarce resources. So what the extinction of a dolphin, for example, means, I mean, it's just probably a symbol of what's going on in the ecosystem. You can be sure that if one species at the top of the food chain is disappearing, many others are disappearing below. So many invertebrates, many fish, all the things this dolphin depend on. So if the dolphin disappears because there is a direct threat to the ecosystem, to these species and so many others. So I think it's a good indicator. If you have no dolphin in a river or in a part of the sea, something is going wrong in your ecosystem for sure. There is no discussion that there is competition for resources between nature and human. The problem is, in the case of the river dolphin, is both human and the dolphin needs basically this river. It's not one or the other, it's both will need it. So I think it's quite a flag that something is going wrong. If the dolphin goes wrong, the fish will disappear, and then the mollusk, and you'll be left with just a river without anything living in it, which might not be able to sustain the world population or the Gange watershed population.
Human beings started talking about sustainable development in 1980. But sustainable development only sustainable agriculture development, sustainable everything. But I think we must talk about sustainable growth of human population also. Can Earth sustain the unlimited growth of human population?
To feed such a vast population, India needs to grow too much food. And they are growing, especially wheat and sugarcane are highly water-intensive agriculture practices.
As a result of widespread food supply campaigns and intensive farming programs, India has been self-sufficient for the past 20 years. But the cost of that self-sufficiency is high. Already man and dolphin are in competition for the precious resource of water, and a balance must be found.
Millions of people are dependent on the river Ganga. It was a big concern that people are taking contaminated food in the form of fish because it was having a lot of pesticides, organochlorine pesticides in their body, and at the same time also people were consuming the Ganga water, drinking Ganga water, which is highly polluted water. The same water also being used for agriculture. So again, the agricultural crops were getting contaminated.
Look, the river Ganga, the water level is so low, and you can see the sandbars coming up, and hardly the depth of water is 5 to 10 feet. That's the maximum, whereas it used to be more than 20-25 feet 10 years back. So this is very sad. Government wants to link all the rivers and to transfer the water to the other rivers in central India and southern India from Ganga. And now the habitat loss is too much. That's why you could find very little fish this morning, and at the same time you don't find much dolphins here because the depth of water is very low.
5 दिसंबर में आया था।
उसी में कुछ गड़बड़ी है।
कितना दिन से बंद है? लोग तो आते हैं 1 महीना।
पता है ना सर हाँ वो लोग मछुआ जो कि रात दिन रहता है शहर में, वो बोल लोग को नहीं बदलता है, वो लोग मछुआ।
They say that they used to see dolphin, but as compared to earlier days, now dolphins are very few in number. This the old gentleman. He said that he used to see a good number of dolphins in his childhood or when he was young. One of the major causes of decline of dolphin population is construction of dams and barrages. Not only that, dams and barrages has isolated the mega population into a small population, subpopulation, because Farakka has been constructed at a point where the downstream Farakka, it used to be a very rich biodiversity, and many more species were migrating to freshwater. Also many species from freshwater were going to sea for breeding and again returning back. So in this case, the entire system has been affected very badly, the river system, and ultimately dolphins also.
With more than 1 billion inhabitants, India is experiencing an unprecedented need for new homes, roads and bridges. These projects have opened employment opportunities to millions. But this exciting period is at the sacrifice of the river ecosystems and the dolphins. Hundreds of different species of river fauna are being exterminated as modern construction calls for less wood and more sand-based concrete. Ironically, the goal is to create long-lasting, sustainable results. Sustainable indeed. The sand has provided a high-quality home for riverbed animals for more than 60 million years.
This is river Son, originating from Amarkantak in Madhya Pradesh and flowing towards north, from central India to Ganga. And we are at the confluence of Son. The sand mining is very dangerous, very damaging to the river system because they destroy the river bed.
They come in numbers of up to 20,000, working with hundreds of trucks and thousands of boats. Armed with little more than a bucket, the local populations are scooping up the sand of the Ganges for wages equivalent to $2 a day. As more buildings and bridges are raised, more and more sand is depleted. In an evolutionary leap, the riverbed sand has gone from housing shellfish to housing humans. Insect larvae, snails, leeches, and many other such species are giving up their rich riverbed sand to the humans who have discovered the value of this powdered gold. Sustainable life on the riverbed is at risk. These animals not only help maintain the ecological integrity and functions of the river system, they also serve as food for the fish, birds, and, through the different steps of the food chain, the dolphins. But these invertebrates are of little immediate concern to the men and boys working 18-hour days. They're not about to give up their salaries or their security in favour of protecting the habitats of clams and leeches. But what they don't realise is that once the riverbed species are gone, the waterborne species which depend on them will soon disappear as well. Species such as the fish, which nourish their families, and the dolphins, which nourish their souls. Swarming like ants in the riverbeds, they are slowly killing their revered mother Ganga.
Ja.
Historically, the riverbed has been surprisingly full of these invertebrate saltwater cousins, since the Himalayas surged out of the Earth's oceans so many millions of years ago. They measure the life of the river. As they die, the river dies. In essence, it becomes sterile.
These animals, they have a long lifespan of several years, up to 12 years. And on the other hand, they are very much sensitive regarding human disturbance, regarding toxic substance, regarding changes in fish population. And so their occurrence always indicates moderate to good water quality. We use this as bioindicators for a good situation. When we will not find these animals anymore, there will be no dolphins anymore, then it's already too late. We will most probably not find these animals in this combination, in this association like today anymore. And nobody can know if the Gangetic dolphin will be able to survive all these changes. This will be future.
In a culture like India's, the most effective way to sensitize the public is via religion. Professor Sinha's international conference had generated much interest and resulted in many recommendations. But in practice, the results remained yet to be seen. His campaign now reaches out to the very soul of the people, their temples, their mosques, their shrines. It is the final chance for his vision.
I invited the head priest of this temple to our conference. We did not want only to be technical or purely scientific, because we have to involve the common mass for fighting against all odds to save Ganga and save dolphins. So we wanted to make it a common mass movement.
Professor Sinha's messages seem to ignite and then fizzle out like incense, leaving little more than faintly scented fumes in the minds of the people as they return to their everyday lives of thirsty crops and sandstone apartment buildings. After all his other approaches have failed to guarantee the survival of the dolphin, Professor Sinha has decided to turn to that glimmer of hope offered by religion, and through it, perhaps access the true source of the danger: humans. All the major religions once protected the overconsumption of any species through fasting rituals and other food restrictions. But poverty and overpopulation have usurped religious dogma, and the leaders have resorted to silence. Professor Sinha's hope is to break that silence, to awaken the powerful voice of the spiritual leaders and remind them of this fundamental call to protect nature. No matter what the religion, they all have this common thread: that humans have a responsibility to sustain life. Life of the dolphins, life of the river, life of all creatures on the planet, including ourselves.
I am the Imam of the Mosque of Mullah Mitan. My name is Sayyid Shah Shamimuddin Ahmad Monemi. ने सिखाई है वो अगर बढ़ती जाए तो ग्लोबल वार्मिंग होगी ही नहीं, पॉल्यूशन फैलेगा ही नहीं। इस पर चर्चा ना के बराबर होती रही है, इसमें कोई कहने में कोई हर्ज नहीं।
Not only that, even Hindu who worship this Ganga, like anything, they themselves are polluting. They are throwing every garbage to Ganga. So this is a conflict, a contradiction, a paradox, I should say. This is completely anti-climax that every religious people is also doing, like Hindu or Islam or whoever. On one hand, we preach, on another hand, we act, and our action is always against what we preach. This is what is happening. Even go to Varanasi, a Hindu is doing everything, all puja and every worship to Ganga, and what he is doing, he is polluting. In Sufism also, maybe in mosque we are all preaching everything, but if we go to behind the mosque, you find all the solid waste garbage going to Ganga. The problem is that common mass doesn't follow that in a scientific way. We preach something, we do something.
So we are always having two minds. We are living in a two world. In 2007, this is the year of dolphin on one hand, and on the other hand, everywhere in the world we are talking about global warming and climate change. So really I am alarmed that with this deteriorating situation all over the world, in Ganga, the flow has decreased like anything. So what will happen to these dolphins? So what will happen to these dolphins?